Well, hello and happy new year, everyone. It is digital host A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four, the live stream where I talk about some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast. However, you're ringing in the new year. I hope you are having a great time. We have a few stories to get into today. But of course, as always, thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your New Year's here with me. Now, starting things off with a national story out of New Orleans this morning. At least 10 are dead and 35 injured after a pickup truck plowed through a crowd in the French Quarter around 3 this morning. Authorities say 42-year-old Samsa Din Jabbar drove a truck through barricades intentionally at high speeds into a crowd. After crashing into heavy machinery, Jabbar got out of the vehicle and began shooting responding police officers, injuring 2 who are listed in stable condition. Jabbar was later killed in the gunfire. Now, the New Orleans mayor called this a terrorist attack, and it has caused the Sugar Bowl, originally set to be played tonight, to be delayed 24 hours. Now let's turn over to Dan Shanaman with NBC News for more details on this truly tragic situation.
Early morning, Bourbon Street filled with revelers celebrating the new year. When it began,
the guy in the pickup truck just punched the gas and mowed over the barricade.
Once past the barricade, investigators say the driver intentionally plowed through pedestrians.
After hitting the crowd, he exited the vehicle and fired upon local law enforcement. Law enforcement returned fire and the subject was pronounced deceased at the scene. An ISIS flag was located on the trailer hitch of the vehicle.
Investigators found weapons and explosives in the truck.
Other potential IEDs were also located in the French Quarter. As of now, 2 IEDs have been found and rendered safe.
The FBI has named the suspect.
42-year-old Samsud Dim Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. He was driving a Ford pickup truck, which appears to be rented.
Investigators do not believe he acted alone.
It was chaos and very, very scary.
A frightening and sad start to the new year. Dan Shanaman, NBC News.
Well, thank you. And 48's Noah Cowell will be further reporting on this situation with a local retired FBI agent coming up in our evening newscast. We also have an update on this situation for you all. The first victim in this tragedy has now been identified in the attack as an 18-year-old aspiring nurse. Now, her name, of course, is Nakaira Dido. Zion Parsons, 18-year-old, also said that she was with it when she watched the car hit his friend. Now, this is all the information we have on this situation at this time, but stay tuned to our evening newscast for any potential updates we'll have on this story coming up. And now let's turn over to Muscle Shoals. A person is injured after a shooting occurred along Airport Road early this morning. Muscle Shoals Police Chief Clint Reck confirmed that the shooting happened around 2 a.m. Wednesday near the Infusions nightclub at the intersection of Airport Road and 2nd Street. In an altercation, officials said a 24-year-old man was shot in the leg. Following the shooting, a police chase occurred in which authorities said the driver was carrying the victim to the hospital. The chase spanned down 2nd Street, Montgomery Avenue, and Cox Boulevard before ending at Helen Keller Hospital in Sheffield. According to the Shoals Insider, the victim received treatment from the hospital and was later discharged. Now, this was later confirmed by the police chief. Authorities continue to investigate the details that led up to the situation. And now a story in Huntsville where a firefighter was injured while responding to a house fire this morning. Multiple Huntsville fire and rescue units responded to the fire that broke out at a house along Essex Drive. HIMSI spokesperson Don Webster confirmed a firefighter was injured on the scene. The firefighter was later transported to Huntsville Hospital, where he is undergoing treatment for non-life-threatening injuries. And 48 News sent a crew to the scene earlier today. The homeowner tells us that the fire originally started in the garage. But now let's take a look at the latest forecast. Jeff, how's it looking for the next few days as we ring in the new year?
Yeah, AJ, cold temperatures to start the new year. We were only in the 40s today, but tonight we drop back into the 20s. It will be clear and a little frosty when you wake up tomorrow morning. Chilly temperatures will continue as we go into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. A reinforcing shot of cold air will come in for the first part of the weekend. So the best we have for you by day is in the 40s, and at night a combination of 20s and 30s. But this is not the coldest air in the 10-day forecast. That will come after some rain on Sunday. Have to watch out for a little maybe freezing rain early Sunday, but mainly a rain event. But once that rain moves out, temperatures drop. In fact, high temperatures for much of next week will struggle in the 30s.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and make sure to stay tuned for the full forecast from 48 First Alert meteorologist Jeff Denoyer coming up at 4. But now a story in case you missed it. Cases of the flu here is spiking across the Yellowhammer State. 48 Savannah Sapp spoke with one health official on the way you can avoid getting the dreaded illness. Take a listen.
Flu is on the rise in the state of Alabama, and officials are getting a jump on urging everyone to practice healthy habits as more cases are expected to come. Cases of influenza are spiking across the state of Alabama. The Alabama Department of Public Health says the flu makes up just over 3% of illnesses being reported right now, and other respiratory illnesses could follow suit.
We're seeing RSV numbers come up as well, and we're starting to see a little bit of a rise in COVID-19 as well.
Dr. Wuest Stubblefield with ADPH says you can stay healthy this season by eating right, exercising, and washing your hands regularly. But the best way to protect yourself is getting vaccinated. He says studies show high-risk patients like the elderly, infants, and pregnant women benefit most from the vac.
Those that received the flu vaccine that were high risk were 33% less likely to go to the hospital. And so this is very important because a flu vaccine can prevent you from getting seriously ill with the flu. It may not prevent the flu entirely, but it can prevent you from getting seriously ill.
He also says the flu vaccine is perfectly safe.
The flu shot can't make you sick. It can't give you the flu. It's an inactivated virus. It does induce an immune response. And when that happens, sometimes you don't feel very well. Maybe you have some achy muscles or just don't feel particularly well. But those symptoms are very short-lived.
And Stubblefield says it's always best to receive those vaccines between 3 to 6 months before flu season begins. In Huntsville, I'm Savannah Sapp, 48 News, on your side.
And staying in health news, another bad illness is making its rounds, and that would be the norovirus, or stomach bug. NBC's Christian Farr reports.
This morning, a holiday health warning as cases of the norovirus surge.
Norovirus decided to be our last little Christmas gift.
New data from the CDC shows an increase in outbreaks, with 91 reported in the first week of December across 14 states, more than double the number for the same week over the past 3 years.
Is there any reason why we're seeing this rise?
Gathering together, especially this time of the year, and all the traveling we're doing, that's causing the increases.
The highly contagious virus, commonly referred to as the stomach flu, can cause days of vomiting, gastrointestinal problems, and fever.
I promise you, you do not want this.
The recent rise comes as multiple states reported new infections in December. In Minnesota, health officials say the number of outbreaks are twice what they usually see. California officials also investigating an outbreak involving 80 people who became ill after eating raw oysters at a Los Angeles food festival. And on 3 different cruise ships operated by Holland America and Princess Cruises, more than 300 passengers contracted the virus. Norovirus can be spread through direct contact with an infected person, touching contaminated surfaces, or eating contaminated food.
If you have been sick with this, I'm sending you all my love because it's no joke.
Now, with millions expected to gather for New Year's Eve celebrations, health experts say it's important to take precautions. Wash produce thoroughly, don't share utensils, and don't rely on hand sanitizer.
You know, we all have this around the house, the hand sanitizer. This does not work very well for norovirus. You need to wash your hands, that 20 seconds we always talk about.
It's definitely not a fun disease, that is for sure. But now, coming up after the break, we'll go through a few of the other stories in case you missed them, the best in North Alabama sports during the year of 2024, and of course, the stories you're just not going to want to miss. It's all ahead. I'll see you all in 1 minute. Well, hello and welcome back to Before the Four. Following the confirmed EF1 tornado that touched down in Athens over the weekend, Athens police are patrolling an area most affected by the storm, as the damage could bring about looters to many local businesses. 48's Nick Ballinger with the story.
As insulation rolls through the streets like tumbleweeds, and the only sounds are plastic blowing in the wind on downed power lines. Nights on the closed South Marion Street in Athens are filled with patrolling police.
All night, they're getting out, walking around, checking business, make sure nobody's in these businesses, because some of them are not secure.
Athens Chief of Police Anthony Presnell says the storm damage to doors, windows, and roofs might attract looters to the damaged stores. Boarded up doors are a last defense some business owners are taking on their own.
It is a slight concern, but it's a step we're taking to try to help our business people and protect the property they have in the businesses.
One of those businesses belongs to Regina Crawford.
Well, we were definitely one of the fortunate ones that we can open our store, and we are open for business, but there are several that we don't know what the outcome is going to be for them.
The front entrance of Crawford's Gifts was not affected, but the back alley is a different story.
Never seen anything quite like this in the 31 years we've been here. Well, it was impassable when we first got here the first day, and I thought it's going to be a month or so before we'll ever be back up and running.
Her business was without lights, power, and internet for 48 hours. Utility crews have already installed this brand new telephone pole. She says the cleanup crews and police presence put her mind at ease.
It's really a blessing to have a town that cares about what we care about. And with having the extra protection during this time is just great.
Well, thank you, Nick. Now in the Shoals, 2 former Sheffield police officials are under fire as 2 people have recently filed a federal lawsuit claiming they violated their First Amendment rights. 48's Aria Pons with more.
2 people in the Shoals say a former Sheffield police investigator violated their rights when he pulled them over because of a bumper sticker. Anthony and Jennifer Story filed the lawsuit just before Christmas, though the incident happened over 2 years ago. Court records show that Anthony and Jennifer Story were pulled over by Sheffield investigator Keegan Cook. They say he told them he pulled them over because of their bumper sticker, which had a raunchy joke on it. The pair says Cook threatened to arrest Anthony if he did not scrape the sticker off right then and there. The lawsuit says that Cook made Anthony Story, who has an intellectual disability, get out of the car in the cold to scrape it off, ruining the car paint in the process. Eventually, another officer intervened and told the Storys they could leave. The Storys filed a complaint with the city. The lawsuit says the complaint reached former police chief Ricky Terry, but it went unanswered and Cook was not punished. This lawsuit is at least the 5th filed against the city of Sheffield and the Sheffield Police Department and or its officers in the last few years. The civil attorney who filed for the Storys, Hank Sherrod, wrote that these lawsuits show that Sheffield and the former chief have a, quote, policy and custom of tolerating constitutional violations by its officers. Cook recently resigned from the Sheffield Police Department. Terry announced his retirement not too long before. Reporting in Sheffield, Aria Pons, 48 on your side.
Well, thank you, Aria. And now let's talk about some sports. With 2024 now behind us, last night 48's Cam Durr put together a best of sports during the entire year. And believe me, there was quite a bit of action. 48's Cam Durr with the 2024 best of sports.
2024 was a year filled with new beginnings, historic runs, and plenty of hoisted trophies here in the state of Alabama. A year that was never short of entertaining, whether on the court, the field, or the diamond. Our athletes gave us plenty of things to celebrate this year. And tonight, as we count down to the new year, we want to rewind the clock as we look back on 2024's best moments in sports. One of the biggest stories in sports this year that had a national impact in college football was the announcement that the GOAT himself, Nick Saban, retired from the game after 17 seasons. With that, a new era of Crimson Tide football rolled into Tuscaloosa with the hiring of Kalen DeBoer.
We understand the challenge that it takes to win a national championship. We understand that it's not easy. It never is, but anything worth anything at all is hard. And we're looking forward to that journey.
And basketball, well, it's king here in North Alabama, and that was evident this year. 8 high school boys and girls basketball teams competed for state titles in Birmingham, with half of those blue maps coming home to the Valley. And then it was time to crown an SEC champ. In 3 of the last 4 seasons, the title belonged to the state of Alabama, with Auburn coming out on top as SEC tournament champions for the 3rd time in program history.
Winning the championship this year means even more because the league was so good.
It's unbelievable, and it's a blessing. Personally, it just haven't really sunk in yet, but right now, man, I'm just excited.
And how could we forget the impact that Muscle Shoals' own Mark Sears had on the game last season? He averaged over 20 points per game and helped lead the Tide down a historic postseason run, making their first ever Final Four appearance. Well, after all, Huntsville is deemed the hockey capital of the South, and last season the Havoc named Stuart Steffen first-year head coach, and they brought in a team primarily made up of rookies, but they would go on to do the unthinkable.
It's a really close group of guys, so we really hope we can bring this home back to Huntsville.
And as winter turned to spring, our local high school baseball teams, well, knocked the 2024 season out of the park. And for the Bob Jones Patriots, a state title was a long time coming.
I don't think anybody thought we'd be state champs here 11 months later, but here we are.
Then, over the summer, the state of Alabama was once again landed on a national stage as the country's oldest professional baseball venue, Rickwood Field, hosted Major League Baseball's first ever Negro League tribute game between the San Francisco Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals. And then, as the leaves changed, football season was back, and the Mars Hill Panthers went on to win the school's 3rd state title in just 11 seasons as a program.
They're all just really dependable people that they're going to give everything they got for their teammates.
No doubt there will be so much more to celebrate in sports as we turn the page into the seasons of 2025. Happy New Year, everyone.
Well, awesome, and I'm also incredibly excited for everything that will be going on the court, field, or rink in the year 2025. Thank you, Cam. Now, I think it is about that time we head into the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscasts. Freezing for a reason, Albertville's annual polar bear plunge today was a success, and it all went to a good cause. Get more details on the annual plunge coming up in our evening newscast. Another story you're just not going to want to miss, new laws now in effect here in Alabama. Get those details from 48's Claudia Peppenhorst. And finally, a great story on how you can follow through with those New Year's resolutions. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. And I think it is just about that time. It is, of course, time for Facebook fun. That is right. And of course, our New Year's Day 48 Facebook question of the day had to be, what is your New Year's resolution? For me, I think continue going to the gym, maybe eating a bit healthier. I think that would be very beneficial, and maybe trying my best to get 8 hours of sleep a night. I think those are some realistic goals I can set in the year 2025. But what I want to know is what you all had to say. And let's see, Ann Wilson said a better mental state. Me and you both, Ann, I think that is a tremendous New Year's resolution and a tremendous goal to set moving into the new year. So awesome comment there. Thank you so much for commenting. Rebecca said be blissful. See, choosing to be blissful is so much better than choosing not to be. That is just an awesome thing to strive to be. So Rebecca, thank you so much for commenting. And yes, you got this. Tara said, finish my MS degree. Of course, you got this in the bag, Tara. You're going to get it done. That is right. Thank you so much for commenting, and I'm excited to see that degree. That is for sure. And then Lynn, she said, no resolutions here for many years. I know how my brain works, and resolutions aren't included in my natural DNA. Understand completely, Lynn, 100%. I feel the same way about myself sometimes. But Lynn, thank you so much for commenting. And everyone who commented today on 48's Facebook question of the day, thank you so much. It really does make my day reading through your comments and seeing what you all had to say. One of my favorite parts of my shift, that is for sure. But that is just about all she wrote for today's Before the Four. I'm going to let you out a little bit earlier today before our 4 o'clock newscast. So you have time. You can pop some popcorn or crack open that Coke bottle that's sitting in your fridge right now. Whatever you need to do, I'm going to let you out early. But if you haven't done so already, make sure you download the 48 digital app, the 48 First Alert Weather app, and the 48 Sports Zone app. Turn on those push notifications, and you will never miss a breaking news story. And with that said, that is just about all the time I have. But of course, as always, thank you for watching, and you all have a great night.